Hello, Captains. So this is going to be an update about the trait system in Star Trek Online, which just got changed in this last patch. It has been updated. There are some new things to note here about the trait system, so be aware of this. First of all, a while ago, the trait system did receive a major overhaul, which was welcomed. Believe this or not, when the game first started and for a long time, once you selected your traits at the beginning of the game, creating your character in the first place, those traits used to not be changeable. You could not change those traits. They were innate to your character, and depending on the species of character you chose, those were the traits you had, and you couldn't change them. Well, then they allowed you to finally change them. They had a big update to the trait system, and they allowed you to change them, but not only that, but on the fly. They allowed you to change them in an open zone, and you could totally swap out all of your traits and put in different traits depending on what you are doing in the game. Let's say you were going to play something space-oriented. You could remove all your traits and put all space traits in. That would help you. Let's say then you were going to do something ground-oriented. You could remove all those traits and put all ground traits in, which would help you. It would focus in on that one area. However, you did have to constantly change them, and that was annoying for some people. Because they didn't want to, right? So a lot of people, and I know this was me, have set up their traits to be more balanced. For example, I always had 5 traits that were ground and 5 traits that were space. I always divided it up so that they were mixed, but that way I never really had to change my traits at all. I didn't have to do any trait changes or respecs, quote, when I did missions. And that gave me a balanced gameplay, but I also wasn't specifically utilizing the traits to their full ability because I didn't have it all maxed out into one area, space or ground. Well, thankfully, Cryptic has finally given us the answer to this question and helped us quite a bit with this recent update. First, I thought they would give us some kind of way to save our traits, like we're able to save a ship setup where you get to save, like your bridge officer layout and your hotkey buttons and all that for your starships in space. I thought it was going to be like that. But what they actually ended up doing, and this is a lot better, I think, is that they separated ground traits and space traits. So this is what's new as of the last patch. Personal ground traits are all in a separate location, and personal space traits are all in a separate location. This is good news. This is awesome. Now, first of all, you'll notice I've got 10 total space traits, 10 total ground traits. There is a difference in the species you choose at the beginning of the game. If you choose any character, most of them have 9 traits. However, if you choose the alien species, they have 10 traits. So that's right. The alien species gets a leg up on some of the other species by having an extra trait slot. That's always been the case. And that the reason for that is because alien has always been more customizable, whereas the other species have more traits that were particularly focused on them. For example, Vulcans would have they would have telepathy or whatever, and you used to not be able to mix those up. You used to, if a certain character had a trait that was native to them, another species could not use that trait. That was in the past. But then, of course, they've changed it, so now any character can use, for example, the telepathy trait. You don't have to be a certain species to use it. You can put it on any character. So since they've opened it up that way, now it means that really the aliens just have a leg up on all the other species by having simply one extra trait. So that's why you see 10 here for me, because I've got species alien going on here on my main character. But that aside, that's always been the case. What's new is the fact that they've split up the ground and space traits. Now, what this does for me, for example, is I no longer have to balance my character. I no longer have to put 5 in space and 5 in ground. Now I can put 10 in space and 10 in ground. So automatically, all of my characters on my builds are automatically more powerful than they were before. Because I was balancing in them and I never changed out traits like I know a lot of people chose to do. Those that played a lot of SDFs, a lot of specific space stuff or ground stuff, they changed their traits out. They put them all into one of those areas anyway. But I never did, and there's probably other people like me that never did that. And for people like us, we instantly now have more powers available to us, more traits available to us, making us more powerful in both ground and space. So I'm able to fully max out the traits that I have, which is really nice. So automatically all my characters are just more powerful now. This is great. This is good news. I mean, they were powerful before, but now they're even better. Now, also in addition, Cryptic has added some new traits. In ground, they've added 4 new traits, and in space, they have added 14 new traits. That's right, 14 new traits. So there's a lot of traits to go through. Now, I do think the traits still differ between careers. So if you're science, engineering, or tactical, you will see different traits available to your character depending on career. And you still may see some traits different between species. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't have an answer. But as an alien species, I do see a lot of traits. I have, however, seen differences between, for sure, tactical, science, and engineering careers. I see different traits available to me. So career type, I think, is going to be the biggest factor there on what traits you see available to you. Now, also, you can pick up traits in lockboxes. Those will sometimes drop new traits you can add in. There are traits on the exchange you can purchase, typically pretty expensive, but you can add in new traits there as well. So if you see a trait you don't have, that doesn't mean you can't get it. Normally, you will be able to if you can afford it. Anyway, point is now these traits are separated. People do not have to switch out their traits or change traits before they start, a space run or a ground run. They no longer have to do that. Now they can just put them in there what they want and leave it and not have to touch it ever again. That is awesome. So at this point, I'm just going to kind of quickly go over the traits that are available in space and ground on each career. This is a science character. This is my main character, the Doctor. So this is science. And let's start with space traits here. There's accurate. There's astrophysicist for stealth detection, improved shield rate, energy drain, and exotic damage. There's conservation of energy, gain 10% bonus damage on exotic damage powers when struck by energy damage. Efficient captain, plus 30 to starship warp core efficiency. There's elusive, plus 10 to defense. There's fleet physicist. To all team members, you get a shield regeneration. There is nanite repair matrix. When hull drops below 50%, you get hit points. There is photonic capacitor. Basically removes recharge of photonic fleet when using science powers. Point blank shot. I don't know if point blank shot is one that I might have put in here from a mission. I think it is. I think point blank shot is one that we got from an Iconian mission reward, if I recall correctly. So you may or may not have point blank shot, but I do have it on all my characters, I think, or some of them, because I played that mission and got the trait. Basically, it is bonus energy weapon damage based on distance to target. You got hull repair healing. These are new. I haven't seen these. These were not in the old trait system, but these are new. Beam training. So you basically have plus 5% beam weapon damage improvement. Then you have one for cannons. You've got a plus 5% cannon. And then there's one for a projectile somewhere down here. You've got maximum hull hit points. Fleet coordinator is 2% all damage per team member, self included. And then these are new too, not this one. This is a 10 physical and kinetic damage resistance. But there are these here that are new. Molecular Defense Specialist, plus 10 phaser damage resistance, disruptor, and plasma. So if you play a lot of Borg, for example, add a Molecular Defense Specialist and you'll get plasma damage resistance. So that's really cool. Imposing Presence is outgoing hull healing and threat generation. Innocuous is a critical severity increase and makes enemies and a decrease in threat generation or something. I guess a decrease. Then you also have an anti-proton, polaron, and tetrion damage resistance. So that's new as well. That's pretty cool. So obviously you're not going to get all of the energy types in one trait. If you want to, resist all energy types, you're going to have to use 2 trait slots for that. They obviously are not going to give you all in one, unfortunately. Here's the projectile weapon one, plus 5% projectile weapon damage. So that's pretty cool. So if you're just totally into DPS and that's all you care about, these training, this beam, projectile, cannon training, that will help add to your damage, which is very cool. Or if you're into tanking, those energy defenses and the kinetic and other ones, all the defenses they have and the whole hit points they have, all that could really help a tank. And then here's one for shield hit points as well. Thrill Seeker is plus 15% flight and impulse speed, and then Warp Theorist is the same, plus 10 to EPS and warp core potential. So that's what you get on Science Space, which is really cool. Obviously, I've got all my traits slotted for science abilities. I do have Efficient Captain and Warp Core Theorist. I like that. As for Physicist, I got an Accuracy. I got Conservation of Energy, Photonic Fleet, Shield Technician, Fleet Physicist, Beam Training, and Operative to increase my critical chance and stuff. On ground, we've got Acute Senses. This is Perception Exploit. You got Aggressive. So some of these haven't changed. Plus 5% all damage, threat generation. There's only 4 been added to the ground, so most of these are the same as they were. Cold-Blooded, Covert, that was there. Creative. I'm just kind of skipping over this real fast. I'm looking for the new stuff is what I'm looking for. Plus 25 bonus damage versus targets. Lucky, Medical Vanguard, Mental Discipline, those were there. Natural Immunities, Peak Health, Physical Strength, all that is there. Resilient, Soldier, Stubborn, Sturdy, Sure-Footed, Telekinesis. This is what I was talking about, like telepathic and stuff like that. You used to, at the very beginning of the game, if a species of character had telepathic, for example, you could not have it on another species. But now, of course, they've opened that up and you can have that. Here's what's new on the ground. Training. This is cool. You've got Assault Training, so plus 5% to assault weapon damage if you're using assault weapons, or Pistol Training if you're using pistols, plus 5% pistol weapon damage, and then Rifle Training, plus 5% rifle weapon damage. So that's really nice. So if you're using, any type of rifle or pistol or assault weapon, you can add that trait and just get a flat-out bonus damage. So again, very DPS oriented there, just do a little more damage on ground. I'm sure people will be using those. Those will probably be used quite a bit. As you can see, I'm using it. I added Rifle Training because I'm using a rifle. And so that will give me better damage on ground. Then this one is also cool, Field Technician. Ground trait reduces recharge time for kit abilities. So there you go. Your kit abilities chime the recharge is reduced by 10%. Very nice. And then Up Close and Personal, I think this one was also from a mission. It's basically like the space one. You got ranged damage, or damage based on range. So those are what's on the science character. So here's the thing, though. Make sure you do go in and take care of all this as soon as you log into your character, because when I first logged into my character, all my traits were gone. In fact, when I played the mission Stormbound, which I've got a video for up now on the channel, all of my traits were inactive. I didn't realize it till after the mission, but every single trait I had was inactive because I didn't realize that they had. Well, I knew that they were going to update them, but I didn't think they were going to be disabled when I started it. But they all were. So I actually ran that mission with no ground or personal traits. So make sure you go in and set your traits, because they will probably be messed up the first time you log in. So you will be underpowered if you do not do that. So make sure to do that. If you're wondering why you're not as powerful as you thought you were, go check your traits. I just want to change characters real quick, and let's go to an engineer, and then after this we'll go to a tactical. Just take a brief look at the traits available again on these characters or different career types. So here is an engineer, and we'll go to traits, and again same thing. Now this is a liberated Borg human, and as you can see I've only got 9 traits, ground and space, for him. So yeah, it's just the alien that gets 10. Very lucky for the alien, but not lucky for the other species. Okay, so space traits. You got accurate, astrophysicist, elusive. For engineering, here's one called EPS manifold. It's all about subsystem powers and improving batteries, if you use a lot of batteries. So as an engineer, that's a good space ability to have. Grace under fire, that's going to go in with miracle worker, so you got that. Bulkhead, cannon, fleet coordinator, impact defense specialist, imposing presence. Yeah, that was on the last one. Operative, yeah, that was there too. Projectile shield. And then pretty much everything else is the same. So those are the only 2 different ones I see on engineering. Interesting. On ground, you have a couple of different ones. I've got Neuroblast because this is a liberated Borg human. So I have that on that. Now on ground, I also have Nanomolecular Architect. So this is damage resistance to fabrications and a regeneration to all fabrications. Orbital devastation, I've got that orbital strike upgrade, which is an orbital chasing beam. Shield harmonic resonance, this is kind of a new one. Applies 5% resistance to an incoming energy damage type when struck, which is cool. And then, of course, you've got the new ones, the assault training, the pistol training, and the rifle training. Just like on science and tactical, they're all going to have that assault weapon, pistol weapon, and rifle weapon damage. And then field technician is going to have a recharge reduction time on your kit abilities, that one as well. So that's cool. So that's pretty much engineering. Let's quickly take a look at tactical. So we'll go to traits, and here's what we got under tactical. This is also an alien, so I've got 10 on him as well. Alright, accurate astrophysicist. Crippling fire is a tactical based one. You've got minus 2.5 accuracy penalty inflicted from a critical hit with crippling fire. Your critical hits reduce your target's accuracy. You've got, of course, the efficient captain, elusive, last ditch effort. This is with go down fighting, plus 100% damage resistance from go down fighting. Living hull, this is one I added. I think this was in a mission. I think this was an Undine mission, if I recall correctly. I forget the name of it, but I don't really use it on this character, but this would be good for an engineering character, for example. But basically, health regeneration in combat, health regeneration out of combat. I guess it could help on an escort too. It's called Living Hull anyway, but that was from a mission, so that's something you guys can add to yours. Momentum, this one I love. This is one of my most favorite traits on a tactical character with an escort here. For every 15 seconds in combat, just being in combat, and it can stack 4 times, you gain flight speed and turn rate. And of course, you're always in combat most of the time, and when you're in combat is when you want that increase. So it stacks up to 4 times, and you get more flight speed and turn rate. So momentum is a great tactical escort trait. I recommend it. If you can get it, go find it. It is incredible. Look for it in the exchange, in a lockbox. Get it if you can. Momentum is awesome. I am using point blank shot on this character, obviously, because it's an escort. Bonus weapon damage based on distance. Techie beam training, again, if you're using beams. Bulkhead, if you want to increase hit point, or whole hit points. Cannon weapon damage. This training stuff is real good just to increase your damage output on a tactical character. We've got fleet coordinator. Again, you've got your resist you can add. Operative I got on here for critical chance, critical severity. You've also got projectile training, shield frequency analyst, shield technician, thrill seeker. I've also turned on. This is more flight speed and full impulse speed, and then warp theorist. So that's ground on tactical. Now space, or excuse me, that's space on tactical. Now ground. My mind has gone into reverse mode. Acute senses, that's going to help you with exploit damage and resistance to flanking damage as well on ground. Aggressive, cold-blooded, covert, creative, fluid antigens. That's another one I think I got from like that same mission or similar to that mission. It's toxic damage resistance. Basically, it's like Undine stuff, but I don't need that on ground. Lucky, mental discipline, natural immunities, peak health, physical strength, resilient. Situational awareness, soldier, strike team specialist. A lot of people love strike team. Stubborn, sturdy, sure-footed, telekinesis, telepathic, and then of course you've got assault weapon damage increase, or pistol or rifle as well, and then kit recharge time reduction also. So that's there. So those weapon damage ones are on every career. Assault, it's either an assault weapon, a pistol, or a rifle. If you have any of those, you can add that on any career and have extra ground damage. And you can also add a kit recharge time reduction as well on every career. So those are common. Those are the new ones on the ground, and those are common on every career. The other things obviously are going to depend on what career you are in space. But some of the new ones there they've added, which are on every career, is the resists. You can add the weapon resist, the shield hit points, hull hit points, antiproton, polaron, tetrion resist, disruptor, phaser, or plasma resist. So all those resists are the same on each career type, which is nice. And then the beam damage or projectile training, projectile weapon damage, or the cannon damage are also on every career. So those you can add as well to do more damage. So that's what you're going to get out of the traits now. And obviously, like I said, there's a whole bunch more traits that do exist, but you have to spend money to get them, either lockbox drops or energy credits in the exchange and stuff like that. But there are some other really cool traits. I don't have them, but they're out there. They exist. But anyway, Cryptic has given us some new ones to play with, which is nice. Pretty much, they've given us some resist. They've given us extra damage output. And by separating ground and space, that allows us to build a total, max out our space traits and leave them maxed out and not have to worry when we go do a ground mission that we don't have any traits active and we have to go change them all out again. Nope, you don't have to, because now you can also have the ground traits put in as well. So you get both of them. I love that. The next thing I wish they would do would be under the reputation traits. What's starting to happen under the reputation traits is that they've opened up so many reputations they've got so many reputations now that are running, and they keep coming out with more and more and more reputations. It's actually getting kind of hard to figure out what you have and what's there and how they all compare, and it looks like they've now ordered them finally. They didn't used to be ordered like this, but I see they are now. This might be new as well. They've ordered them by reputation. So like this is the Delta Rising stuff, I believe. This is the Delta Rising reputation. Here is I forgot what purple is. Here's Nukara. Here's Omega. Here's the Romulan. Here's Undine. Here's Dyson. So purple is Iconian then. So you see, that's a lot to go through. And that's not even the new Terran stuff yet. I don't even have the new Terran stuff opened up yet. So that's a lot of reputation to go through. At least they've got space and ground of the reputation separated, but I don't know. I just that's starting to get overwhelming in a sense. But I guess so are these, because there's a lot of those too. I don't know any other way to categorize it, but at least they've separated it into ground and space there. Starship traits, I mean, I guess if you have a lot of starship traits, that can start to get interesting as well. I don't know. They start putting so much of this in there that it gets confusing, but it looks like they've grouped them. I don't think they were grouped before like this, so this helps. this helps now figure out things a lot better. I do wish they would give us more slots, though, especially for the space and ground reputation and the active reputation. They give you that extra unlock if you go to the Fleet Research Lab, which is the Crinum Research Lab. It costs a lot of fleet credits and dilithium, but if you can do that, you can unlock an extra slot for that. As you can see, I did unlock an extra slot on the space reputation, so that helps. I still think they should give you just a couple more, though, for free, because there's just so many now. Look how many there are, and you can only really choose 4 from that. How in the world could you choose 4 from that? What they should do, here's my opinion. They should give you as many slots as you have reputations open. So, like, here's this group of Delta Rising reputation, right? They should give you 1 slot for Delta Rising. Then they should give you 1 slot for Iconian, and then 1 slot for Nukara, 1 slot for Omega, 1 slot for Romulan, and 1 slot for Undine, and 1 slot for Dyson Sphere, or the Dyson stuff. In that way, you get to pick 1 trait from each group, so that each reputation is represented in your space and ground reputations. Having just 4 is very limiting. 5 at the most for an extra cost. Very limiting. But if they gave us, for each reputation, if they gave us basically 1 slot per reputation, then you'd be able to choose from that group. I'd have 1 trait from Delta Rising enabled. I would have 1 trait from Iconian enabled. I'd have 1 trait from Nukara, 1 trait from Omega, 1 trait from Romulan, 1 trait from Undine, and 1 trait from Dyson. By limiting it to just 1 trait per reputation, they're not getting that, overload on how many traits we have active and power creep and all that. But they are allowing us to utilize each reputation and have a reason for unlocking all the reputation and actually grinding out the reputation. There'd be a reason to, because you would be guaranteed that you could use 1 trait from that reputation. So I think that's what they should do to expand space and ground reputation. I vote for that. So devs, I hope you're watching, please, because I think that would benefit us all and help make reputations a little more useful, or the reputation traits, I should say, a little more useful. There wouldn't be so many wasted ones, because if there's like 10 reputations and I'm only using 4 powers from that, and I've got like 40 traits available to me, I mean, there's a lot wasted there. So let's not waste. That's my opinion. Anyway, back to personal traits. Very happy that they expanded to allowing us to have separate ground and space traits. This is good. This is great. Perfect. Thank you, Cryptic. Finally. That was needed. Now get the reputation traits in order. Alright, everyone. Just remember, please, go change your traits. Go check them. Because they will be messed up until you do. And you will be like me and wondering why things aren't working the way they should. Alright, everybody. Have fun with the traits. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.